Thousands of college students in New Mexico recently graduated, but after celebrating and taking pictures with friends and family, some will face the harsh reality of student loan payments. And that can create challenges further down the road. And in recent years, New Mexico has had the highest default rate for student loans of any state in the country. This week, our producer Sarah Gustavus brings us different perspectives on how to manage student loans and what students and recent graduates are dealing with today in New Mexico.
I'm joined at the table today by Chris Quintana from the Albuquerque Journal. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Also, Susan Morrison of Q Financial Planning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And Adrian Faustine, you're a graduate student at the Anderson School of Management at UNM. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start with you, Adrian. You recently got your undergraduate degree. How much do you owe in student loans right now?
Upwards around $30,000.
And how does that feel? Does that feel manageable, or does that feel like that's going to be a real problem?
I feel like eventually it's going to be a problem. Right now, I'm not thinking about it or trying not to think about it. But yeah, I think eventually it's going to dawn on me that it's not going to be something I want to deal with.
Now, are those loans for your undergraduate degree or what you've taken out to go to graduate school?
It's a combination. So the majority of it right now is graduate school because I was lucky enough to get like the lottery scholarship and other scholarships that helped me with my undergrad.
Why did you feel like you needed that graduate degree for your career?
I felt like being in a business degree that it really separated me from the rest of the pack. That in my opinion, most people who get a business degree only get the bachelor's, so I wanted to go above and beyond and get a master's degree so I'm more marketable.
Yeah. A lot of times here on the show and out in the community, folks are saying young people like yourself with ambition who want to go further in their education, they can do all these great things, but then they can't get a good job where they can actually pay off those loans in New Mexico. Is that a concern for you?
Definitely, yeah. Because I feel that like if I have a job that I'm not too sure if I'll get the security of keeping that job for a long time. So if I get a position, I don't know if it's gonna help me fully pay off my loans. It may partially help, but then the loan will eventually just build back up. So I'm a little worried.
Yeah. And what are you hearing from folks that you graduated with? Are they concerned about the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have both sides where friends are paying them off, but there's a lot of them that aren't. They're still building up the loans. They're in school. They even are continuing their education just so they don't have to deal with the burden of paying off their student loans.
That sounds kind of risky, Susan. As a financial advisor, what do you say about that?
Well, it is risky. And you know, one of the things we're seeing is these blossoming and burgeoning student loans, and you know, actually Adrian's done a great job of keeping his loans in check because the average student loan debt for just 4 years is about $30,000, about $29,000. So really for undergrad and graduate school together, you've done a good job of keeping your loans reasonable, but that doesn't mean it's going to be an easy payoff process. So you definitely have some work ahead of you, either a good job or maybe something like the Public Service Loan Forgiveness program that would allow you to work at a great company like KNME, you know, a nonprofit organization, and give you some relief there.
In full disclosure, I qualify for that, and I'm on that myself for my own graduate school loans. Are you hearing from a lot of clients the first time you meet with them that student loans are a part of what they're dealing with?
Absolutely. People of really all ages, you know, right out of school all the way up through their 40s, even into their early 50s, still have, in many cases, a dramatic amount of student loan debt that is really a drag on their cash flow and on their ability to save for retirement, their ability to save for their own children's college, and to buy a house, and really to sort of get a foothold economically.
Chris, in your reporting on student loans here in New Mexico, what are some trends that you've seen that you think folks should know about?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, New Mexico it's another one of those situations where we're leading the pack kind of in the wrong way. I think in the most recent, two most recent years worth of data, we were at 20.8% in our default rate, 20% more recently, and that's really. I think that should be a warning to people that, I mean, 1 in 5 students defaulting on their loans. That's not. That's you know, a scary figure.
Yeah.
And it's you know, it's leading the nation. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind, that, you know, in whatever you see around the nation, New Mexico's got it, you know, even worse. And I think I think a lot of what you see also, and this was reporting that I did back in 2014, so maybe it has changed a little bit since then, but often the people who are hit hardest by this sort of thing are students who take out a loan for their freshman or sophomore year of college and then drop out, and so they no longer have the expanded earning power that comes from a bachelor's degree, but they also have this debt, and you know, trying to find a job that pays that is a real challenge. Those are some things that I've noticed.
That's a big deal, and those loans are not dischargeable in a bankruptcy.
That's correct. Yeah, in many cases, you cannot discharge student loans in bankruptcy. There are some exceptions, but you really have to be in a very serious hardship position. So typically, you can't discharge them in bankruptcy. You either have to create a plan to pay them, as part of your cash flow. There is a deduction for interest on student loans if you make less than a certain amount of money. But that helps a little bit. But it's really, if you have a big student loan debt, that principal payment is not deductible, and it's going to be a big problem.
There's a lot of students graduating this month, and it might be tempting to ignore it for a while, but what would be your advice to them and maybe their parents or adults who want to support those people that are just getting started after graduating?
Well, it's a scary time, right? Because you're shifting from taking out those loans and going to school to thinking about paying them off. And so I think there's a real temptation to continue to defer loans, like your friend who basically just keeps taking out loans and sort of ignoring it. But, at some point you have to face the music, and it's really a good idea to, at that point, develop a plan, right? Are you going to just try to pay this off, and over what time period makes sense? Are you going to go into some kind of a job where you can maybe have like a teaching job or a public service job, where you might have an opportunity for some loan forgiveness, Teach for America, something like that? So it's really, face it is my advice. Develop a plan, develop a strategy for paying off those loans.
And Chris, what about the lottery scholarship? Adrian mentioned that he used the lottery scholarship for undergrad. How are things looking right now for that in New Mexico?
Well, I don't want to make any predictions, but I can tell you kind of what has been happening in recent years. For a long time, and when I went to school from 2008 to 2012, it covered 100% of your tuition, leaving you to, cover fees and, miscellaneous college expenses. These days, I believe it's at 90% of your tuition coverage. And, it's being propped up right now by the alcohol excise tax, partially. And so but that's supposed to expire, I think, in 2017. So by fall 2017, the rate could drop to 60% if lawmakers, don't decide not to prop it up anymore with the alcohol excise tax or change how it's working. So, that could have an impact on students who, just speaking from my own experience, like having that tuition covered was a really big deal for me. And if I had to, if it was only half of, or roughly half of my tuition, I don't know where I would be right now. So that's something to look forward to, but that's not necessarily for sure going to happen. That's just kind of what we've seen recently with the lottery scholarship.
And did you end up taking out student loans?
I did, yeah. I wanted a new computer when I was in college. And so, yeah, I think when I was taking them out, I didn't really see it as a problem at the time. It just seemed like future Chris's issues, and now that future Chris has arrived, I'm here and I'm really upset at my younger self because but I also feel like no one really told me what was going to be involved with it. You're young, you see this money, and you're like, oh, wow, like this is more money than I've ever had access to in my life. I was a first generation college student as well, so it's like just being in college is a big deal, So it's like you kind of see all these things immediately, and I think if I had thought about it a little bit more, if I had some kind of a financial advisement telling me kind of like what the repayment process would have been, I probably would have reconsidered taking out those loans.
That's an interesting perspective. What about you, Adrian? Do you feel like you had the information you needed when you first started taking out loans?
Oh, not at all. They didn't inform me, really. They just told me, hey, there's a FAFSA coming up, and it took me a while to even understand what a FAFSA was. Oh, yeah. And like Chris says, they'll give you a bunch of money, and being a college student, you see this big lump of money, and you're like, heck yeah, I'll take it in, and I'll spend it and do whatever with it. But yeah, that was definitely a hard thing. Luckily, I had my parents to help me out and tell me, no, don't do it. But seeing all that money and wanting to spend it and realizing, well, that money is for school and not a new computer or something like that. Like, but yeah, it was definitely a burden to see all that money and not really do anything with it.
Yeah. I've heard, Susan, folks talking about the FAFSA, if they are filling it out by themselves as a young person for the first time, how challenging that can be, especially for first-generation college students, navigating that process. Any advice for those young people?
You know, it is a very complex process. The FAFSA is a complex document, and it's not clear, I think, to people what of their assets are considered and what are not considered, and which parent assets are considered, and so forth. I know that there's some great people that work in these schools that can help fill those out. But I think to Adrian's point, and really to Chris's point too, in terms of getting a lump sum of money when you're a young person, you know, I think that there's now a move, or at least President Obama has a college affordability plan that includes at least the idea of maybe giving the student the money over a period of time instead of all at once. Maybe paying some of the money directly to the college, you know, trying to, you know, save students from themselves, basically, when they get a lump sum. And I think some education around that, as both of you pointed out, just having a little bit of counseling around getting that lump sum or getting the regular disbursements would be very helpful.
Yeah, it's not just a natural thing to know how to manage money.
Right.
For all of us.
Yeah.
Adrian, anything that you're thinking about right now as you continue graduate school and managing these loans? Are there steps you're going to take to try to manage that money that you're thinking a little differently now?
Yeah, one big thing is, like, I'm not going to take out the big lump sums. I want to know how much I need, when I need it, stuff like that. So then I know I can pull out a manageable amount, because at first I did do the mistake and pulled out like everything they offered me, and I'm kind of paying for it. But yeah, it's definitely something I need to pay attention to.
Chris, what about you? What are you thinking right now for maybe future coverage, or how you're going to manage those loans you already have?
Well, I'm probably not going back to grad school. You know, I think as far as paying them off, that's something that is, you know, something I'm going to continue to work on. But I think for future coverage, things that, you know, we'll probably try to address is, you know, what colleges are doing and kind of some of the difficulties that colleges have in managing this. You know, their reputation is tied to a student's ability to repay their loans, but a lot of the times it's like you've graduated, you've gone on, they may not even be in the state anymore, but the default rate is still attached to the university. So, I mean, I always think that that's an interesting topic, and seeing what the universities can do to try to manage you know, their default rate, because it does, you know, if it gets too high, the federal government can intervene.
That's an interesting point. We're going to leave it there. Thank you all so much for sitting down with us this week.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.